Hey everyone, for those of you who don't know me, I am Renee Cooper and I'm a training specialist here at 2020. And I'm really excited that you're joining us for our virtual site here at NeoCon this year. And I'm also excited to share with you a couple of tools that I know that I could not live without. So let's go ahead and get started. So, not only am I a training specialist here at 2020, but I am also a designer working still in the industry. And so, when I talk to you about these tools, I'm talking to you from my perspective and why I like them so much and why they make my life so much easier. And as we all know, COVID-19 has changed so much about how we work. And as we're getting back to somewhat normal life, we are also going back into the office. But it will be different, and our clients need to make changes. I'm sure you're already experiencing this. Now, regardless if they're downsizing to accommodate more remote working or upscaling to comply with new guidelines, we know that change is going to happen. And change is good, right? But is it easy? Not usually in our case, unless you have the right tools, of course. Now, let's face it, there's lots of parts and pieces to office furniture, making it very difficult to keep track of it all. Trust me, I know. And what is the best way to keep track of it all, really? So, in our case, is it in Worksheet or is it in our drawing? Doesn't matter. Well, I think it does. So, almost all office furniture is designed to be reused and reconfigured. It's really the beauty of it over built in, right? But how often does this happen? Well, maybe more than you think. And I'm betting it will start happening more and more. So we really need to be prepared for it. Well, step one in my book is always having an as built drawing file for your furniture. This is that document that, after all has been ordered and installed, punches have been addressed, is the most accurate configuration and specification of your furniture. Now, will it stay accurate? No, because people move things. But by having an as-built drawing, at least you have a place to start. Now, why is this important? I mean, don't I typically create a worksheet and then finalize my project from there? Well, yes, in most cases, but when we have a client who wants to make changes, and of course we don't even really know that up front necessarily, but what is the first thing we do when we open our drawing? Now, will it stay accurate? No, because people move things. But by having an as-built drawing, I at least have a place to start. Now, why is this so important? Don't I typically just create a worksheet and then finalize my project from there? Well, yes, in most cases, but when we have a client who wants to make changes, what is the first thing that we do? We open our drawing and we start designing. I know many of you keep your drawings up to date, even if it means taking whatever changes you did in Worksheet and manually making them in your drawing. But there is another option, and that is to use the associated worksheet. It's the same process in terms of creating a worksheet, but it allows you to sync any adds or changes made in the worksheet back to your CAP drawing file and or CAP complete. Thus, it allows you to work back and forth between the two. Now, people always say to me, seems complicated. It makes me a little nervous. Well, I felt that way at first too, but like anything else, the more I used it, the more I felt comfortable with it. So rather than me talk more about it, let's just look at an example that I have pulled together. So here I have a drawing. It's just of a benching scenario and with a couple of small meeting spaces here. So let's just go ahead and create our worksheet. And again, the process is the same. But here, instead of the visual worksheet, I'm going to select the associated worksheet. We'll just go to next. And we're going to do all objects. And actually, when you do an associated worksheet, you always have to do all objects. And then next, we'll go through and we'll just let it process, and then we're going to open it in 2020 worksheet. So we'll open this up. And so here is our associated worksheet example that we've pulled together. Now, typically, the first thing that we do is go ahead and maybe specify our finishes. We do this in Worksheet typically versus our drawing file because we can do it faster. So let's go ahead and let's just specify this chair. We'll go ahead and open up 2020 options. We'll just make it orange. And we'll say finish. And so we have that specified. And then also a lot of times we want to add things into our worksheet. Maybe something that we typically wouldn't place in our drawing because there's no graphic for it. Probably the best example I can think of off the top of my head is a lock and key. And so I have one of those here in my bookmark. So I'm just going to drag and drop that in. And the first thing you notice down here at the bottom is this little tooltip that pops out, reminding me that I'm working with an associated worksheet. So down here it shows my worksheet type as associated. And then also it gives me this nice little visual icon in the row item number column. Okay. So now if I want to sync this back to my drawing, I typically like to just save my worksheet. And a lot of times I'll actually close my worksheet. That way I know what I last worked in. A lot of times we get interrupted and we come back and we have both of them open and we're like, oh no, which one is the most accurate? And so I always close out my worksheet. It's just a suggestion though. You don't have to. But now I'm going to go back into my cap drawing, and just to the right of create worksheet is update with associated worksheet. And it's going to recognize that the last thing I worked on was my worksheet. So it's going to prompt me to update my drawing, and I'm just going to say start, and it will go through the process. And so now if I do a cap info, for example, on that chair, it is specified. And then I can come up here and open up or show the non-plan item list. And so there is my lock and key that I specified. All right. Now, if I wanted to go, make changes in my drawing and then go back the other way, of course I can do that. So let's go and just change our chair back to a different color, different leather. We'll just do the sand. How's that sound? And we'll say finish. Okay. Now that's only going to update that one because I'm doing it in my drawing. It's still only updating one thing at a time. And then I'm actually going to come over here and I'm going to delete my lock and key. Okay. So I always like to just save, and then I'm going to come over here and say update. I'm going to update my worksheet. If I did close it, I have the option here to open it. And so now if I flip over to my worksheet, you can see now I have 2 rows of chairs. I have 3 orange ones still, and I have one that's sand. I would have to go through and update my preview images to reflect those changes. And then, as you can see, I no longer have a lock and key in here. So that is how an associated worksheet can really make your life simpler. And again, I come from this as a working designer. I use it all the time. And so hopefully it's something that you'll look into using as well. Now, the next tool we're going to look at is the compare tool. And as it says here, making reconfiguration of office spaces fast, easy, and accurate. What it does is it basically allows you to take an existing product list, compare it to a new list, and it's going to give you what you are, 1, reusing, 2, what is left over, and 3, what you need to order new. Now, again, probably the best way for me to go through and explain how this works is just to show you an example. So I have some files open. So I'll go back to my Cap Complete. And in here, I will go ahead and close out of my new plan list. But in here, I have an existing drawing, that same benching unit that we were using. And then I have my new layout. And in my new layout, I just deleted this table that was at the end of the benching station, and then I added another little small beading space. Now, these are, of course, very simple changes, but trust me, it will work for very complicated changes as well. So the first thing that you would need to do is create a worksheet for both of these. And that's the beauty of the tool, is that it's worksheet based. So kind of regardless of the programs that you're using, so let's say, for example, and let's say you're keeping track of product in an inventory management program. If you can export a CIF file out of that, you can easily import it then into Worksheet. Or if you use another designing tool, if you can export out a CIF file of your specification, you can import it into Worksheet and still use the compare tool. Okay. So here's my existing worksheet, and here is my new worksheet. Okay. So the tool is actually standalone. However, you can access it right in Worksheet under Tools, and you can go to Compare. It's actually a pretty simple process, and it walks you right through the steps. So it's just asking you, what files would you like to compare? And I can come in here and add my existing files or my as-built, whatever terminology you're using there. So I'm just going to go in and I'm going to grab my existing worksheet. And it doesn't have to be a visual, it can still be an associated. And then I'm going to go out and grab my new. There's my new, right? And so now it's going to ask me, where would I like to save my results? And it's giving me the option again to create a list of what I need to order, what I'm going to be reusing, and then what I will have left over. And so here it's just a matter of going out and naming these, whatever works best for you, storing them in a location that works best for you. Okay. I'll just keep those where they're at. And then how would you like to see your results summarized? You have the option of doing either a text report, a CSV file report, or no report at all. So we'll just go ahead and do a text report so you can see what that looks like. And then what comparison criteria would you like to use? And typically we recommend that you stick with, the manufacturer and part number or any of these listed here, but you do have the ability to customize your criteria. And then last, again, notice our worksheet or our drawing has panel configurations in it. I don't need to even flatten those beforehand. I can just do it right in here, whether I'm working with standards or, again, flatten my panels. So I can flatten my panels, and then I just say compare. It's pretty quick. So here it's giving me my text report, and it's giving me the names of where my files are located. So here it's telling me it has 3 columns to order, leftover, and reuse. So it's listing out my product, and then on the right-hand side, it will tell me out of the 3 where it falls into. Right? And then, of course, I can go in and open up those worksheets. So I can go in and find those. I think they were put in here. There it is, my leftover, my reuse, and my to order. So leftover worksheet, I can open that. So leftover, I had that rectangular table at the end that I removed. So those are my leftover pieces. Then I can go ahead and open up what I'm going to reuse. And that should be a pretty long part list. And you can see there's no longer any panel configurations. All the components are individual. And or also I can open up what I need to order. And then, of course, you can always combine what you're reusing and your to order. You can merge those together for a complete product list, but then also you have them separated, which might make it easier for your installer. All right. So that is the 2020 Compare tool. Again, something that I would not want to live without, especially in our industry today. So now if you want more info on either of these tools, there's some information out there on our YouTube channel. So you can check that out. And or if you're a current user of 2020, you can go out to our What's New section and there is a user guide on the Compare tool. We also have opportunities for custom classes. If you feel like either of these are something that you want to learn more about, we're happy to create that custom class for you online so that you really feel comfortable with using these tools and we can get you started right away. Well, thanks and just enjoy the rest of your virtual day here at NeoCon. Take care.